Yeah, 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 yeah. Hello, citizens of Middle Earth. Whether you be elf or cave troll like me, I welcome you. Cardivox Academy. My name is Mark, and today we are doing something kind of crazy. We're checking out Within Temptation, and the reason I'm saying this is kind of crazy is because I've never heard this band in my life, like ever. Maybe in the background somewhere, and I wasn't aware of it. I don't know why. It just kind of is never something I listen to, and so I reached out to my patrons. And I said, yo, I want to do a Within Temptation song. What should I do on our Discord channel? And they suggested a whole slew of stuff, but we came to the consensus that we should do something new to see how it goes. And so we shall. We're checking out The Purge. From what I understand, they started off as a symphonic metal band and they've moved more towards like a rock sound. So I'm interested to see where this will land. Their singer, Sharon Adel, I believe her name is very highly regarded, so I'm interested to see what's going on here. Now, if you're new to the channel, I myself am a vocal coach, mostly specializing in death metal and deathcore and those sorts of things, so this will be a little interesting for me. I'm also in 3 bands, Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. And what we do here is we take the reaction format, we break it down, we try to have some fun and make it educational as well. If you enjoy the content, like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to vote on a monthly video or help me pick a video when I'm having a brain fart, feel free to check out our Patreon and join our Discord community. It's pretty large at this point. It's a lot of fun, a lot of cool people. Let's get into it. Let's check out Within Temptation, The Purge. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Okay, so that seems like a good place. So first things, I definitely think that this is probably more of like the rock sound that my patrons were talking about. And so far it's really cool. Actually, one thing I'm really enjoying is how clean and controlled her voice is on top of these, aggressive guitars, these aggressive drums, things like that. I'm really liking that. And she's got a very connected sound. Now, I know what you're thinking. I hear all these vocal coaches say connected. That's a very vague term. What does that mean? Well, that's a great question. So when I say connected, now, as with many of these things, it may change a little bit depending on which person you're talking to. Totally understandable, right? But oftentimes when you hear vocal coaches say either person is connected, plugged in, these sorts of things, what we mean is that the primary building blocks that create healthy singing are all working together and not working against each other, right? So breath support obviously is good. Breathing in nice and low, pulling that air into the abdominal area, feeling like it's sort of like sucking down. But squeezing too hard or holding back or filling up too much can give you like that sort of choked off fighting sound, right? We can also have very tight closed throats. So when we're trying to climb up these notes or getting into this more, sort of belted space that she's moving in and out of, rather than sounding clean, we can get that squeeze going on there, right? Resonance placement. Is it forward? Is it back? Is it deep in our throat? How is this working, right? So I often think of the voice as, a mixture, and this isn't just me. A lot of people think of it this way. Some people add a thing here or there. Some people subtract. But for me, I think of it as a combination of breath support, resonance, and phonation. Healthy singing is these 3 things together, right? And so her voice sounds very much like all of these things. Now, I know this band has been together since the late 90s, mid to late 90s, so it's no surprise, I'm not sure what kind of training she has, but with that kind of experience, there's no surprise she sounds awesome. I want to talk a little bit about some stuff, but we may go ahead and keep going. I'm really enjoying the different coloring she's adding to her voice, right? So she's moving back and forth between like a bright kind of timbre sound, hey, yeah, oh, yeah, and then bringing in, and I'm kind of exaggerating it here to show the contrast, and then she'll sometimes dip into more of a rocky, oh, yeah, or see how one is a little warmer, feels a little darker. It's the same notes and such, but the way that we're articulating them is different. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's keep going here because it seems like we're coming up to something good. Oh, don't drink that. So this section here where she's getting more into like a full belted voice here and there is really beautiful. And I love that descent that she's doing. I can see. I think it's C, G sharp, G. I love those descending notes. That's beautiful. Now, one thing that's really cool is you can tell that she is right in the probably the most comfortable space in her voice, right? I'm not hearing her adding a lot of twang to her belting. A lot of times when people, now you can add little amounts of twang that aren't necessarily like incredibly audible, right? Twang doesn't have to be this really bright, crazy sound. But when we talk about twang, we're talking about a couple things. And a lot of people will do that to help their belt, especially if they're climbing up in their range, right? So when we're adding twang, and I'm going to exaggerate it here, this like, oh yeah, or like those types of sounds. A lot of it is the back of the tongue raising, but we have these two little processes kind of above and behind our vocal folds, where the vocal folds open, and they're called the arytenoid cartilages, right? And we can utilize those arytenoid cartilages to sort of lean in and close not close, but lessen the space of the larynx above the vocal folds, oftentimes called the laryngeal funnel, right? And so what this does is this kind of narrows the airstream, makes it a little easier to keep the vocal folds together, and can help us belt. So whenever I hear somebody getting these belted tones minus that very obvious twang sound, that tells me one of two things, usually both. Number one, they're right in the center of where they're comfortable. And number two, they've really practiced this and they're doing very, very well, right? A good way to kind of practice this on your own, if you want to, is to find a note that's comfortable for you. And, maybe you don't even think about a note, just kind of for fun at home, A, right there, whatever that is. I don't know. A. Play around with a very frontal sound. Now, you don't have to match my pitch. Pick one that works for you, right? We breathe in nice and slow, expand those ribs, utilize the abdominal muscles, let a little bit of pressure build up. Release that sound and just feel how that sound kind of moves around inside of your head, right? How does that feel? What is that like? And if you're squeezing in your throat, you'll know, right? And you need to do some stuff to relax. But that's a good way to kind of get into sort of a belting space. Think of it as a very masky, very frontally resonated sound, right? It's a lot of people sometimes will call this your call register, because it's like, hey, over there. Hey, whoa, what's going on? Hey, yeah. It's like calling to somebody across a parking lot. Anyway, I just talked a whole lot, so let's keep going.
Defiance made me strong, but now I'm down, and what I've done, this could
Another really cool thing that she's doing that's really important and is actually quite fundamental for any of us who are singing. Now, this is a music video, so she's definitely lip syncing. Now, if you didn't know that most music videos that you see are lip syncing, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but 90% of music videos, maybe even more that you see, everybody's lip syncing. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out isn't to be like, she's lip syncing. I've lip synced every music video I've been in. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it looks like she's actually mimicking the same mouth shape, the same embouchure that she would have when she's really singing. So it's actually very valuable. One thing that I notice is when she's going for her vowels, and this is super common, e, a, she's got a little bit of a smile, right? Her upper lip is kind of pulled back, right? Jaw nice and dropped. This can actually be really helpful. One thing that a lot of new singers don't realize, and it's understandable, is that different vowels will have different levels or different amounts of work that they require, right? You know, certain vowels are easier than others. For example, if you just, sitting there at home say E, 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 you can feel that vibrating in the front, but it feels kind of closed. It's why a lot of times people, instead of saying E, will use the vowel A. A is a little bit more open, a little bit easier to resonate. For example, is kind of difficult for some people, so they'll switch to while they're singing. Point is, she's utilizing her different mouth shapes to have really good control. And, that's very understandable for somebody who A, has such a great voice, and B, has been doing this for so long. So really fun. I want to go back because her voice is a little bit more, there's a little less going on behind her voice. We've gotten into a little bit more of a dun, 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 dun section of the song. And so she stands out a little bit more. And I just want you to pay attention to that. Well, soon. There. Oh, something good's gonna happen. So I'm going to pause it there for a second because it sounds like the song is changing, and this is a really cool thing to talk about as well. So if you're at home and you're trying to get belting down, you're like, oh man, I really want to get belting down, and it's really difficult. One thing you may be having difficulty with is vocal fold closure, right? A lot of times when people try to belt, they'll flip into their head voice and they'll get kind of this, hey, I can't, right? And it sounds kind of weak and not, what am I going for? I don't know, right? And it has that sound, and that, if you can use that to make good stuff, but when you're trying to go for a different sound and your vocal folds are kind of blowing apart, as you just heard, it doesn't sound that great. So holding your vocal folds together while you're moving up into this space that's going to be easier for you to belt in can be tricky, right? One of the best ways you can do this, and this is not my exercise, this is an old exercise. Really, a lot of different types of exercises are going to work, but a lot of the ones that are the most effective are SOVTs, semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, right? And essentially what that means is we're partially obstructing the vocal tract, usually at the mouth, right? So, the raspberries. If you roll your lips, and this is super common, I'm sure that anybody watching this has watched a bunch of other coach videos as well. They've probably suggested this, and it's because it really does work. You'll notice that by rolling your lips and keeping your throat relaxed, you're able to kind of move through those different registers. Chesty, moving up through your vocal break, and into your head. And you'll probably notice that your voice doesn't break as well, right? Other things you can do, super common, humming through straws. I was recently, about a month ago, I was talking with Elizabeth from the Charismatic Voice, and I'd never thought about it, but she pointed out that blowing raspberries is a really great, I just spit everywhere, gross, is a really great way to do it as well. And then over time, as you learn to hold your vocal folds together, hey, hey, oh, yeah, yeah, right? It'll become a little bit more natural. Now, the thing is, even though it's a loud sound, one thing that she's doing really, really well, and you can tell because you can just hear it, is she's really maximizing the acoustic property of her mouth to get the notes to work for her, not against her, right? Oftentimes new singers and even experienced singers, I'll be honest, sometimes when I'm in the vocal booth, you know, I will find myself making this mistake, and I have to be like, hey, dude, wake up, right? But these sounds seem powerful because they are powerful, but they're powerful because of the way they're resonating, not because of the way they're being pushed or squeezed. Now, we do need a good amount of abdominal support, right? We can't just pretend that this is fully relaxed and there's nothing going on. That's totally not the case. But all of my effort is like rib cage down, right? Everything else is open and relaxed, right? And so if you're having trouble relaxing, again, like the raspberries are really great. Lip rolls are great. Humming through a straw is great. And another one is kind of yawning out your notes. One thing I really like to do to kind of warm myself up every day is I'll do like the Trololo song. If you remember that. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I purposefully do it just like you heard. Over exaggerated, way too open, kind of silly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right? Just to kind of remind myself that, hey, I can get a lot of volume and I can get a lot of power just from opening up and letting the sound bounce around, kind of like an acoustic guitar, right? Anyway, let's keep going here. I want to go back a little bit because I want you to hear what I'm talking about. Let's go back to where she lights on fire, and then we'll probably just finish the song out. I love this. Yo. You know, call me crazy. And again, like, this is literally the first Within Temptation song I've like ever listened to with any sort of like knowledge that this is who I'm listening to. I mean, being a metal and being a music guy, oh, another video is playing. My bad. Being a metal and a music guy, I'm sure I've been in some environment where the music is playing, but I never was aware of it. But with this song, I'm hearing almost like some Vola vibes, just in the instrumentation, not so much the singing, but in the big ambient sections. I loved the synth, the keyboard that we were hearing. That was beautiful. I love the textures that it added, and I love her voice. It's really awesome. So, you know, I think that if this was something you enjoyed, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll check out more Within Temptation. Maybe we'll go back into the archives and listen to the more symphonic place that they came from, right? Clearly there's a big rabbit hole for us to go down. But again, hopefully you enjoyed the content. Hopefully you had a good time. If you did, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to support the channel, maybe get a couple, we're trying to do more videos per week. And if you'd like to help us do that, remember that we do have a Patreon that lets you hang out in the Discord with a lot of, they're actually like 7 or 8 people in the voice channel now. I don't know what they're talking about, but they're probably making fun of me. But they're hanging out, and they get to vote on videos and help me think of a video when I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, I've talked a lot. So Thank you for your patience. Thank you for spending some of your day with me. And as always, many thanks, much love. I'm out.